2 years ago, when we came to Los Angeles, I really believed that the greatness of the Raiders would be in its future.
What's going on? What's going on? We live.
Welcome to the 50-50 Show with PharoahNFL and the Severe Raider. The realest show for Raider Nation. 2 points of view. One verdict. You decide.
It's that time, man. Hey, man. It's we know it's a late night crew. We like to call the night shift. We like to call the people out here the night shift. It is the night shift. Make sure to clock in. Make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit that notification bell. Man, we got a show lined up for you, man. We got the return of Ray. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We had a good conversation with him.
Great
Obviously, man, you said it again?
Said a great conversation.
Yes, sir, man. How's it going, man? How's everything going with you, Severe?
Everything's going good. Everything's going great over here, man. Interesting to see what the Raiders it looks like. But even before the June 1st, money coming through. It looks like they're getting a little bit active in free agency, man. So I'm excited to see that. Excited to see what's next to come. Excited for the people to see this interview with Ray, man. I think it's going to be I think it's going to spark some debates in the comment section, man. So make sure y'all leave your comments.
Yes, sir, man. Hey, and Space Beast is starting the show off right. He says, dropping my like. Appreciate you, my guy. JNN Galindo says, shout out to the homies waiting with me. Okay. Hey, man, Raiders, man. I feel you, man. It's all day, every day. Raider Ryan, salute nation, man. Appreciate you coming through, man, Ryan. Appreciate everybody coming through. I know this is a late night show, late night edition, but you know how it is, man. We here every Monday. So just know that. We here every Monday. Raider Wolf in the building says something must have happened. Maybe I don't know if he's clowning. No, it is, man. Hey, we here, man. We're gonna be here every Monday night. So just know that. But like I said, we have a good conversation lined up with Raider Way, and we're not gonna waste any time, man. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and start the show with my guy Ray. What's good? The collab that you've been waiting for. My guy, Raider Ray.
What's good,
and
guys?
Obviously, Severe Raider, man. Hey, look, man. It's the 50-50 show, undrafted connection, man. Look, we got a lot to talk about. Man, what's going on? How's everybody doing?
It's the 30th third and a third show.
Oh
based
yeah,
off of
shout
the
out to Space Beast for that one. 30,
Yeah,
33rd
yeah.
and third show. Okay, man.
Yeah.
Hey man, that might be a future show right there. Who knows? Who knows? But what's going on, man? How's everybody doing? You know, I know it's been a long week for me, but how about you guys?
Go ahead, Severe.
I mean, I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. You know, man, really, this main thing has been following this Kendrick and Drake thing, man. I think it's going crazy.
As of right now,
man.
Kendrick has the lead. He has the lead
yes.
firmly. He firmly has
Yes.
the lead. I
Couple
haven't
10-8
even heard
rounds.
the last one too, to be honest with you.
You
I
heard
feel
the
like he's
last
coming
one?
out with something every second.
Yeah, man. It's basically at this point, man. He's like kicking a dead body, man. He's just this last one was the one before this last one was like I think that was like the kill shot, and this last one was basically like him just like dancing on the grave like a celebration.
Man, it's that bad. All right, I'm gonna have to check it out in a second. But at the end of the day, man, we all know why y'all here, man. Y'all want to talk Raider football. Let's get into it, man. What is Raider Nation talking about? They're talking about Josh Jacobs, man. Josh Jacobs has been the talk of social media. I mean, Raider fans have been asking for, I guess, you know, some type of acknowledgement of him leaving the Raiders, and you know, Josh Jacobs wasn't like really, he didn't care. Let's just be honest. Like he didn't care. He actually came out and really said, I'm gonna look for the tweet, and I'll have it posted hopefully a little bit later, but where he pretty much says that, hey, you know what, at the end of the day, like you guys didn't care if I left or not. Y'all didn't really care. So he was kind of, you know, he was kind of like, you know, I guess it was his way of kind of just saying, like, you know what, y'all don't mess with me, I don't mess with y'all, man. I don't like. How do y'all feel about Josh Jacobs? Do you feel like he's right for saying that, or do you feel like he's a player that the Raider fans are always going to remember as a great player for the Raiders, or is it going to be a situation where, you know, hey, if the way it ended is the way it's going to be?
You go ahead, take it, Ray.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about the Josh Jacobs thing, to be honest with you. I think we've seen what Josh is over the course of him being a Raider. I mean, this isn't the first time things like this pop up. You know, this isn't a surprise that he would be talking this way. He almost like needs it in a weird way. Like, this is the stuff that he needs in his life. And for that, like, it is what it is, bro. Like, if you want to be grimy about the Raiders moving on and, oh, they don't want me, and throw kind of like a pity party about it, then, hey, bro, then take it over to Wisconsin and go do your thing.
Yeah. What are what's your take on this, Severe? I kind of know already, but look, go ahead.
Yeah, man. My takes on Josh Jacob have been well documented. I think I said on the last show we talked about Josh Jacobs, which was maybe like, man, a month or two ago. You know, people were bringing up the tattoo, and I said that, you know, in terms of that tattoo, how I know several women with tattoos of men that they're no longer with. And I think to bring that analogy full circle is Josh Jacobs acting like a scorned woman who, you know, somebody they got dumped, and now they see you with somebody else, or they see you've moved on, and rather than being able to move on gracefully, you know, they want to play in the dirt, basically. And if you would have took the pulse of Raider Nation, I think more than 60% of people in Raider Nation, possibly, and I might be underselling it, would have said they wanted Josh Jacobs to stay. I think if you would have took the pulse of content creators, like probably a similar percentage or higher would have said they wanted Josh Jacobs to stay. I was in the minority. And when I say, you know, I didn't care about him, and I believe Ray had similar feelings as well. So it's a situation where that, you know, he talked about loyalty, all this stuff about loyalty, where all those fans out there that were loyal to you, that were going to bat for you in these comment sections, in these Twitter spaces, all these places, all they were asking was for you to give them a proper goodbye. And he couldn't find the 10 to 15 minutes out of his day, or to, you know, if a lot of these guys don't even run their own Twitter, have your publicist, hey, you know what, can you know, write up this message for me and send it out to Raider fans. He couldn't find it in his heart to do that, and that just shows you what kind of person he is, bro. It's the kind of dude that, like, you know, once a Raider, always a Raider. Nah, bro, you had one good year with us. You know, a solid year before that, a wasted year before that one, and a pretty good rookie season. After that, besides that, you're nothing. You're nothing. You're not going to be nothing. I'm not going to remember you as a Raider. Good luck up there, up north in cold weather, where they really hit in the NFC North. Bro, good luck staying healthy in that cold weather. Like, have fun.
Dang.
Man, hey, man, Severe Raider is coming out with the kill shots. But, hey, for me, I didn't really take it that way. I kind of took it as, like, you know what? At the end of the day, it's a business. And I feel like fans, for me, I don't know how y'all feel about this, but I know for me, when I look at it, it's like, at the end of the day, get your money. Like, get your money. Like, maximize your value. I have no problem of anybody doing that. My thing is that at the end of the day, like, he's taking it so personal where he's forgetting about the people who actually, like, rooted for him, that supported him, who don't view it as that way. He's kind of lumping everybody in the same bag, so to speak. Like, he's trying to put everybody in the same corner where everybody's like out to get him and doesn't really care about him regardless. But I get where he's coming from, because he's going to social media, and social media is kind of toxic. You're gonna see the worst of the worst. You're gonna see people saying all types of crazy stuff. I'm sure he watches some of the shows out here. I'm sure he probably heard you, Severe. He probably heard you talking.
I hope he did. I hope he did.
You know what I mean? So he probably took that and was like, all right, well, if this is how you feel, then I'm gonna go take my talent somewhere else if you guys don't value me a certain way. And guess what? Another team came in last minute. I think he did want to stay at the end, but hey, the Packers came in and gave him, I guess, the contract that he was looking for as far as a year salary. But it is what it is. I don't really take it. When players leave, I don't really get too mad about it. What I don't like is, like, dysfunctional stuff. Like for example, Antonio Brown. You know what I mean? Antonio Brown, like that. Oh man, I hated that. Like, come on, just play. I don't want to see that. I didn't really get that vibe with Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs, at the end of the day, when it came to playing, he put everything out there on the football field. It didn't end the way we wanted it to be. I know for you kind of was like, hey, look, you're counting days until he was gone. I liked him as a player. I was hoping that he could come back, because I feel more confident with Josh Jacobs at running back than I do with Zamir White. You know what I mean? That's the bottom line. I'm not 100% confident in Zamir White for a full season that he's going to give me the same production that a Josh Jacobs would have. That's my take on it, but I understand we're paying Zamir White pennies compared to what Josh Jacobs is getting paid out there with Green Bay. So it is what it is. Josh Jacobs, move on. Raider Nation should move on. But that being said, let's just move on to the next topic right here, man. Let's grade the Raiders offseason.
Am I going first here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Ray, bearded man of wisdom. We let you
Bearded
go
man,
first.
yeah. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So as far as free agency, man, like I'm not a big believer in overspending and getting locked into some contracts that just don't make sense, i.e. the LaMarcus Joyner, Corey Littleton days, like all that stuff I'm not into. So the Christian Wilkins, like, I love that. You got the big fish. You landed the big fish. And then they just kind of got good deals from there on out. So as far as free agency, I felt like there's a few areas that hindsight post-draft, you would like to go back and maybe grab a guy or two that maybe got snagged up, and looking at our financial situation right now, you could have gotten. I'll give our free agency like a solid B. I'll say obviously the Christian Wilkins is a solid A+ move in my opinion, but outside of that, we didn't do too much. So overall, I give it a solid B. As far as the draft, man, we kind of alluded to it on the show that we did on Undrafted. You missed out on the first 6 quarterbacks. I know you guys have alluded some along the lines of, like, you can't buy something that's not for sale. You missed on the first 6 quarterbacks. You got to pivot on your plan. I think if AOC and Gardner Minshew are the quarterbacks you're going to roll with, yes, stack the offensive side of the football with talent. We had Devontae, we had Jacoby, we had Trey Tucker, and then we had Michael Mayer. Outside of those starting 4, you know what I mean? The depth behind that was pretty bad. So I personally don't view Brock Bowers as a tight end. I know Severe might disagree. I view him as just more of an overall weapon, H-back, big slot, attack the seams, jet sweeps. I mean, just a multitude of positions. When you look at it on paper, yeah, tight end, it was not a need at all. If you looked at it strictly based off of position, yeah, you would say like, bro, like, what are we doing? But as far as Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison, and then Brock Bowers, I think you get one of those top 3 explosive players in the draft, big playmaking ability. And for that, I can't ever discredit that when you get a top 7 talent at 13. I'm not going to completely bash it just based off of what we have offensively. As far as the defensive back part of it goes, I know that Severe, you're a big Quinyon Mitchell guy. He was my number 1 DB on the board. I just think, however, with the position that the defense is in and free agency, I feel like you can address the defensive backs and get a veteran to plug in that position and not necessarily allocate a first-round draft pick to that position, especially coming out of Toledo. I love his traits. I love his measurables. Like I said, he was my number 1 corner on the board as well. I just think he's going to have a little bit of baptism under fire with the Devontae Adams, the Justin Jeffersons, all those types of guys of the world. I just don't know that he impacts the game as much as a Brock Bowers who can put points up, create yak, and be explosive on the offensive side of the football. So overall, man, I love the Jackson Powers-Johnson pick. I thought that was a home run. 2 of the prospects that I thought that we weren't even going to have a shot at, to be honest with you. And somehow they fell to us and they took them. The later rounds, that's a topic for debate that we can talk about here in a little bit, but overall, man, in the draft, I would Severe. I know you're gonna cringe. Man, but I would probably give it a solid B plus. B minus. Yeah. So I know we'll disagree on that, but we can talk about that.
So everything averaged out to a B, pretty much.
Yeah. I'd say probably B.
Okay.
I don't want to go safe and be like, oh, it's a C. You know what I mean? That kind of feels easy. So I don't want to lean towards a D. And I'm not going to go in the A category because I don't think it was A.
Okay. I think that's a fair answer. I mean, overall, because you're talking about the totality of the offseason. Yeah. We're able to get like the biggest need free agent pickup in Christian Wilkins. That was the guy that we targeted. Like that was one of the guys that we're like hoping that we can get. I know Chris Jones early on until he got franchised. We looked at some of the top cornerbacks. Obviously, they got taken up. They got franchised. And then Christian Wilkins was one of those guys, those blue chip players, and we're able to get that. That's just going to unlock the defense. So I think that's definitely – I think you can say a B. Because after that Christian Wilkins signing, it did die off a little bit. Like they weren't really super aggressive. And maybe for good reason because some of the needs that they have were on offensive line and I'm not gonna lie, the guards were getting paid left and right, and I'm not sure if it really made sense to hand out a huge contract to offensive line. I think Telesco might have learned from his past mistakes because we've seen the Chargers be super aggressive and sign so much players in free agency, but it didn't. I mean, the one that comes to mind was that cornerback out of the Patriots, JC, and I remember they gave him a huge contract that didn't work out. And they've handed out contracts. It didn't work out. So
can that be foreshadowing?
Hey, man. Hey, you know what, Severe? I'm gonna be positive right now. You know what I mean? You'll have your time. You'll have your time to say what you want to say, man. But
I'll say this just to kind of like end on my thought was like I think that the picks are viewed the way they are because for months now, even throughout all of last year, we've been talking about a quarterback, whether it was Jaden Daniels late in the process. I know Severe was on Michael Penix early, but later in the process, everybody kind of moved on to Michael Penix being the pick. And then when the Falcons took him, I just think a lot of the ways that you would have gone about it, it still leaves a weird taste in your mouth of like, we didn't get the guy though. Like whether that be a trade back and you get a corner, you landed a tackle, like regardless of direction, I honestly feel like the fan base would be like, okay, but we still didn't get our guy. What are we doing at quarterback? And that's what this draft really feels like. Everybody feels either positive about based off of best player available mindset early in the draft, as opposed to, man, we really missed out on a quarterback and we still have a huge need on the roster.
Yeah, and that leads me to the draft. The draft, I felt like, early on, I was super negative about it. I'm not gonna lie. And like you just mentioned, not getting the quarterback was a big reason why I was kind of disappointed. I'm like, man, we couldn't. And a lot of that, man, was the Falcons just doing the most unthinkable thing that I literally have a video short saying, "Oh man, the Falcons just signed Kirk Cousins. That takes them off the board of taking of quarterback." I literally have a video because I did not think that they were going to draft a quarterback at number 8. Lo and behold, they end up getting Michael Penix. It is what it is. People are criticizing it. Some people are applauding it because for whatever reason, the people are pointing out that Kirk Cousins' contract is only 2 years, but at the end of the day, they're still giving him $100 million guaranteed. However way you want to look at it, that quarterback position is tied up, but the Raiders are kind of screwed. They don't have a quarterback. It is what it is, and that disappointment kind of bled into the Raiders picking their guy, whoever. Brock Bowers at number 13, which at the time I'm like, man, we went tight end and we could have traded down and maybe possibly got an offensive tackle or maybe get in a corner. But you know what? As time went on, I grew to like the pick. I grew to like the pick. And Severe made a joke like, hey, man, why do we always got to grow to like something? Why do we always got to like just make sense of something that we early on we didn't agree with? But look, I just looking at the player, we're getting a dominant player at that position. And you can argue he's better than Michael Mayer. And on top of that, you can argue that he's most likely, if you had to project who's going to be the number 1 option in a couple of years, it's probably going to be Brock Bowers because, we know Devontae's probably not going to be here for too long. I mean, he's eventually going to age gracefully or go to a different team or, retire or whatnot. We have to think of life after Devontae, and I think that pick kind of has should have everybody comfortable because now you have a guy that could potentially be a number 1 option. So I'm happy with that. But if you want to look at it from a broader perspective, we get 2 starters. Guaranteed. First and second round, we can agree that Bowers is going to be starting and Jackson Powers Johnson is going to be starting. Guaranteed. Now, as far as the rest of the draft, that's where you kind of have to all right, make sense of it. All right, DJ Glaze, I don't know, might have been a reach. Richardson, is he a guy that they feel like they possibly can coach up? We'll see. You know what I mean? You got the linebacker out of Ohio State. We'll see. I like Dylan Lobby. You can see a role being made for him, whether it's special teams or third down back. We know that for a fact. And then everybody else is kind of like wait and see. But I'm gonna give the draft like a C plus B minus. C plus B minus. But it's hard for me to give him a C plus because damn, you get 2 starters. That's what you want to do in the first couple of rounds. You want to get 2 starters, and we know for a fact there's going to be 2 starters. But everybody else is kind of a wait and see. But it is what it is. Severe, I leave it to you. Go ahead. I'm just gonna get ready to. I'm just gonna keep doing this every time, Severe.
Buckle up, man. All of my loving fans out there, just get your comments ready. I think first we have to start off with the first thing that happened this offseason, which was we have to decide on our head coach and on our general manager. While I kind of did a complete 180 on Antonio Pierce. And initially, throughout the season, I wasn't really too keen on him being the guy that was going to lead our franchise going forward. But toward the end of the year, kind of saw what he was able to do, and I warmed up to the idea. So I think us bringing him on, or us keeping him, retaining him, and removing the interim tag, I would say that's like a B plus A minus move. The hiring of Telesco, obviously that's an F. Right? I mean, it's just not messing. That's an F. But it's like a C minus right now, bro. It is a C minus. I was not happy with the hire at the time. I understood the hire, but as I said before, I just didn't like the process. Now I felt that we should have brought in a president of football operations and let him kind of take control of everything. Mark kind of insinuated that's what he was going to do. He was leaning that direction. Then he decided not to do it. So I don't like the process of how things were handled. Moving on to free agency, I think it's a solid B. I kind of agree with Ray there. I think Christian Wilkins was a great signing, especially what the pairing of him and Max Crosby will be able to do. Cannot forget the future Hall of Famer Harrison Bryant. We brought in the tight end. I think he could beat out Brock Boswell. I mess with you now.
Oh,
but, I think that's a solid third tight end, a guy that is primarily a blocker, maybe a guy you can kind of sneak out, kind of guy you can have him inside blocking, then he'll leak out for if it's a third and short situation or goal line situation. Madison, I like him. I think he was very effective as a second back, and him providing kind of a 1-2 punch with Zamir White. I think that will be a good thing. I think the best thing we did this offseason, which was addition by subtraction, was get rid of that crybaby Josh Jacobs. Have fun in Green Bay, jerk. And moving on from there, man, the draft. You guys kind of know what I feel about the draft. Looking at this team last year, at no point did I say, what this team needs? We really need some more weapons. No, it was never an issue with the weapons. Matter of fact, Pharaoh, when we signed Jacoby Myers, he was like, why are you signing another wide receiver? You don't need a wide receiver, right? Those were his thoughts. So for us to say, hey, you know what? This team is lacking. We need another guy that needs to get the ball. No, we have 3 guys that need to get the ball. We also have a running back that we need to feed the ball. And I think we have a younger developmental guy in Wilkerson that I think that with another year in the program, who I think can be effective and can be some effective depth. And then you have this
Wilkerson,
the wide receiver.
No,
the wide receiver.
Are you serious?
The wide receiver, yeah. The guy that killed it in preseason. I think that's a young developmental guy. I'm not saying he's going to be. But I don't think he's going to be a. He's going to be a top tier weapon, but I think that's effective depth, effective young depth. Because you think about it, think about the Green Bay receivers, right? Nobody knew who those guys were at all. Most people still couldn't name some of those guys, right? Outside of the kid they just drafted. So I think you have these young guys, you put them in situations to succeed, they'll succeed. We drafted a tight end in the second round last year. We almost traded up into the first round to get him, but we ended up trading up into the second round to get him, a guy most people thought was going to be a plug and play guy and be effective immediately. It took him pretty much all year to be effective, and then when he finally started getting effective, he got hurt. So there's no guarantee that the weapon we got in the first round this year is going to be any more effective than what we did last year, especially when Devontae Adams demands the kind of share of targets that he demands, as well as Jacoby Myers kind of demands the share of targets they demand, not because they're divas, but just because they're good players. Like, you need to get those guys the ball. Moving on. And the whole thing with we couldn't get a quarterback, right? I'm fine with not getting a quarterback. If you can't get a quarterback, strengthen your strength, right? Focus on the running game, focus on your defense. I don't know what our cornerback room is going to look like. We have Jack Jones right now. We have Brandon Faison, who could possibly be on the way out next year. Then we have Jacorian Bennett, who's a mystery, in and of himself. But then you look at Jack Jones, he's a guy that's kind of attached to the hip of Antonio Pierce. If for some reason we decide to move on from Antonio Pierce after this year or after next year, Jack Jones is essentially not an option for your team anymore. He's not a guy that's going to be effective, as he showed in New England. He's a guy that's basically really only effective if he's playing for Antonio Pierce. It's been that way his whole life. He went to USC. He fizzled out of USC. Went to Arizona State with Antonio Pierce. He's an effective player. He gets drafted to the NFL, goes to New England. Well, he's a good player. He can't cut it there. He gets cut. We pick him up on waivers. He comes to the Raiders. He's instantly our best cornerback. So that's not a guy who I'm counting on, because if at any point we have to move on from Antonio Pierce, he's not going to be an option for us. I don't care what anybody says. He's no longer an option. So at that point, you still need another corner. And even with him here, we still need a number 2 corner. right? So I think that's what the main thing our defense was lacking was a number 2 corner last year. And I think we have improved cornerback play opposite of Jack Jones. I think that takes our defense to a next level. And when you have spotty quarterback play, the quarterback's best friend is an effective running game and a good defense. What won us the Chiefs game, an effective running game and a good defense. So I think that's what you kind of want to push forward, because currently our options at quarterback, I'm not thrilled about either one of them. So then you look second round, Jackson Powers Johnson's pick I love. I think he's a first round talent. A guy, I think he's an instant starter. Brock Bowers is an instant starter too. I just don't think we needed him. Third round, you look at Delmar Glaze. He is a guy that everybody wants to point to his PFF ranking. While he was effective as a pass blocker in a let's say not, he didn't come from the best program. He was an effective run blocker. He's also a guy that people talked about, Michael Penix, and his 2 ACLs. He's a guy who had 2 ACLs in college, in high school as well. So you worry about injury risk. I mean, I think a position where you're basically guaranteed to make some contact on every single play, I think I'm more concerned about an ACL at that position than I am at a quarterback, where ideally he doesn't get hit often, right? Every single play, your right tackle is basically going to have a collision. DeCamerion Richardson, not a fan of that guy. He has all the measurables, but we went through that thing before with Isaiah Johnson, who pretty much had better measurables than DeCamerion Richardson. So we're taking another kind of a developmental guy that early in the round. We have a developmental guy already in Jacorian Bennett, so why do that again? And then late, of course, we got Ed Reed's-Cousin, who was obviously gonna be a Hall of Famer because of his
his affiliation with the family.
His cousin by marriage.
His marital affiliations. Everybody knows what I feel about Lobby too. I think he's a guy that's going to be potentially a weapon on this team, but if nothing else, he offers an option at kick returner and maybe punt returner. But now overall, man, I give it a C. I give it a C.
The entire offseason?
The entire offseason, I give it a C.
Man, I don't know. I don't know.
I would go lower.
I'm gonna stay at a B. I'm gonna stay at a B just because the impact of Christian Wilkins. And now that I think about it, and I brought this up to you, I think I brought it up with you and Big Mike, and I think I brought it up with Ray earlier. And look, the Raiders, they value the quarterbacks in the first round. They did not value the quarterbacks after that. And guess what? The entire NFL didn't value the quarterbacks after the first round. So you could say their strategy is like, all right, we know we have AOC and Minshew at quarterback. So what can you do to enhance that situation? You know what I mean? Yeah, like easy answer. Oh, just draft a young QB or get a trade for a QB. But it's not that easy. But what you can do is improve the pieces around the quarterback. So you don't. I know you mentioned. Yeah, I know. Drafting a tight end at 13 is not what we planned for. I don't think anybody kind of predicted that move. But when it's a guy like Brock Bowers, and I told Ray earlier, I was like, you know what? In order for this pick to actually make sense, he would have to be an elite tight end.
Go for 700. He better go for 700 yards plus this season. He has to go for 700 yards plus. If he doesn't, year one is a failure. Year one is a failure if he doesn't get more than 700 yards. If you draft a tight end at 13, he better go for 700 yards in the first year. And another point, tight ends have the second highest bust rate in the first round. Know what position has the highest bust rate in the first round? Wide receiver. So whether you put him at a tight end or you put him as a big slot, as Ray colorfully said. Those are the two highest positions where people fail in the first round at a position that we didn't really need. We didn't need outside weapons. We needed a guy to get them the ball more effectively, or we needed a guy on the right side that we can lock in for the next 10 or so years to protect our quarterback's blind side, or if we get a left-handed quarterback, his front side. Pause if necessary. But so I would say, I just don't think the pick made much sense. He's a good player. I mean, no problem with the prospect at all. I just think when you're looking at what this team needed, that's not what we needed. We didn't need more hands in the cookie jar. We needed somebody that made better cookies.
Yeah, I think when you're alluding to stuff like the bust rate of a tight end or a wide receiver. I would say also statistically, not far behind it is probably DBs. And I
Especially
don't.
Raiders drafting DBs.
That's what I'm saying. They've just kind of burned me sour on taking a DB in the first round. And I think with the front seven that we have, I don't think you have to invest a high capital pick, especially with Christian Wilkins, Kuntz, and Crosby. Those guys getting after it. I think obviously you can plug in a free agent at that spot, and I think you'll be all right. I think you make a good point with the Jack Jones. You said something also. You said to add weapons, like make your strength a strength. And I think that's what they did with Brock Bowers. When you look at Devontae Adams and you said, Pharaoh alluded to why are you signing another receiver in Jacoby Myers? I would say if we look back at last year, we needed Jacoby Myers because we could be honest, like Devontae Adams, like he slipped up, he kind of slipped up a little bit. And there was times where Jacoby Myers really stepped into a role that I think we really needed. And despite the offensive scheme that we were running, I thought Jacoby stepped in and did a really good thing. And I don't think you ever look at our offense, especially with our quarterback situation, and say, man, we just have too many playmakers. We just have too many weapons. And I don't think that that's a world that the NFL is living in right now. I think that if this is your quarterback position and you can move this guy around a lot, I know you said the bust rate, I would say statistically, I would say his probability isn't very high of being a bust. I could obviously be way wrong on that, and that could be just me liking his game.
But the thing is that I'm sure every first-round receiver that busted out, people would say, well, the probability of being a bust, come on, like this guy he did this in college. Right. He was this guy. Right. So they're not getting drafted in the first round if people think like, oh, well, this guy he's going to probably be that's kind of negligible right there. And then in terms of weapons, I think we have enough weapons to be effective. I don't think we have good enough DBs to hold up on the back end consistently, even with our pass rush. We talked about it last year. We were a drop away from losing that Patriots game. And it wasn't because Max Crosby wasn't playing well or because Malcolm Kuntz wasn't playing well. It's because our DBs can't hold up in coverage. And that's when we had a better player essentially than who we have now. I have no faith in Xavier Howard being the upgrade because of, he's coming off a down year. I for damn sure don't have any faith in Stephon Gilmore. I have more faith in some of these free agent wide receivers that are out there helping provide a third or fourth option than I do with any of these free agent cornerbacks being our number 2 cornerback. And that's the difference. All right, we're looking at a guy that's going to be our possibly, maybe Brock Bowers is our number 2 weapon, possibly third, right? But for sure, whoever we pick up in free agency is going to probably need to be our number 2 corner, and I have no faith in them being left on an island on a consistent basis.
I would say that some teams have the identity, like if you're the 49ers and you have this identity of like, we're going to be a good offensive system with the weapons that we have. And then you look at the Raiders, and I would say with AP, I have this feeling that the defense is going to be in an all right position with AP and Patrick Graham and the identity and the buy-in, just the guys that they have on the defensive side of the football. So I'm not as worried as if I was a 49er guy, I would be looking and be like, I'm not necessarily that concerned with the offensive side of the football. I think they'll get things figured out. It's the same way with the Raiders, how I view it defensively. I think Patrick Graham and Antonio Pierce have a mind where they can figure it out. And I think that we have something, i.e. us beating the Chiefs, keeping the Minnesota Vikings to 3 points. And I think that's where, when you look at what they've done offensively, Michael Gallup, Brock Bowers, these weapons that they've added to the offensive side, is that the difference of losing a game 0-3? If you have a Brock Bowers who can go off and take a 4-yard flat and take it 40 yards and get you in field goal range, like, are these the differences in winning those close games?
Michael Mayer wasn't doing that.
Michael
Mayer wasn't going to give you that type of yak ability. You know what I mean?
But I don't think Brock Bowers is going to do that on a consistent basis either, especially not with the quarterbacks that we have.
I think that's your opinion, though. That's your opinion. But
that's your opinion as well, though. That's your opinion as well.
But what have you seen Brock Bowers doing in college that you feel like he can't do in the pro game? I mean, I feel like you can't project that.
So Brock Bowers, first of all, he's going to be going up against much bigger players in the NFL. In college, he's kind of the big boy, and he's the number 1 target there. So that's another thing. He's the number 1 target there.
So he's going to get his target share there was much bigger. So it's going to be huge, vastly different when he's not the number one target. He's going to be way less effective, get way less yards because you have to feed guys like Devontae, you have to feed guys like Jacoby, and you need better quarterback play. His quarterback in college, whether it's Stetson Bennett or whether it's Beck, is going to be infinitely better comparatively, for the level he was at compared to the quarterback at the NFL, the level there our quarterbacks are at, than the competition. It's much different. And you look at what Michael Mayer did with worse quarterback play, right? If Michael Mayer in college had better quarterback play, he would have been arguably just as effective as a guy as Brock Bowers. We were all talking about him possibly being the number one tight end last year. A lot of people had him as the number one tight end last year. Depending on who you were, a lot of people had Dalton Kincaid. Some people had Sam Laporta. But there were a whole bunch of people that had Michael Mayer as their number one guy. So I mean, if you look at what we thought about what Michael Mayer would do when he came in, right? Did you think that Michael Mayer would not be an effective tight end when he came into the league, or you thought he would be effective?
I thought he had a chance to be effective with McDaniels.
You thought he had a
history with tight ends, yeah.
And now you're saying you think Brock Bowers has a chance to be effective as well, right?
Yes, I'm saying
so
that
if you
let me finish my. You asked me a question, I got to answer, right? Yeah. So let me answer the question. So the question you're asking me is he going to be an effective player? But the one thing is, you said you mentioned about Brock Bowers, you said that he's going to be going against bigger players, but what type of players are going to be guarding Brock Bowers? Linebackers, safeties. That's easy money for a guy like Brock Bowers. That's your skill set.
That's your assumption. See, that's your assumption. You're assuming. Just like last year, you assumed Michael Mayer. I'm not assuming Michael Mayer will be effective too, right? That's what you just told me. Last year, you assumed Michael Mayer will be effective.
No. But I'm not assuming though. I'm not assuming. Look, where did Brock Bowers play? The SEC, right?
No.
The SEC, right?
No. Yeah, so your assumption is that SEC, they're not known for their linebackers. They're known for their front end players, and they're known for their skill players. They're not known for having great linebackers or great safeties. They're known for having great front end guys. That's what they're known for.
And SEC is known for. And corners, right? And corners too.
Sometimes.
But what I'm saying is what I'm saying is he was getting open. He was getting open against linebackers. He was getting open against safeties. He was getting open against corners.
Because
they were throwing everything at him, and he was still getting open. And he was getting open at different.
Because he was the number one option. So they were force feeding him the ball. They were finding creative ways to force feed him the ball. They're not going to do that here. Know who's going to get that privilege? Devontae Adams. We're not gonna make Brock Bowers the focal point of our offense. Let's make sure we do everything so we can scheme Brock Bowers open. He's not gonna have that advantage here. We're doing stuff to scheme Devontae Adams open 90% of the time.
Right.
So it's totally different situation. Totally different situation.
No,
it is a different situation. And one, too, I want to go back to Michael Mayer real quick. I think we all could agree here too, like, saying like, oh, well, you thought Michael Mayer was going to be productive. Like, well, yeah. Well, I mean, we assumed that he was going to be productive. We would all agree, though, the way that he was utilized was just ridiculous, like offensively, scheme-wise. Like Josh McDaniels, that was just humiliating the way that they were using him. Now, granted, they developed his inline blocking ability, and that really started to come to fruition down the road in the run game. He started becoming a factor as opposed to early on in the year he wasn't. However, like I think we would all agree here on the panel, like Michael Mayer has the upside if used properly to be a really good football player. And I don't think that Brock Bowers takes away from Michael Mayer. I think he increases him based off of where they're going to be doing alignments. And you look at Detroit Lions and what they're able to do in the tight end, and you're scheming against smaller sized linebackers. You're taking advantage of safeties down in the box and just creating natural mismatches. And Detroit did that really well last year. And you've seen how deep they got with Sam Laporta and those guys over there moving the football. I don't think it's that different over here in Las Vegas, especially with the attention. Devontae's going to get doubled and Devontae's going to get his shares. That didn't stop Jacoby from getting the rock. It didn't stop other guys from having to get involved because, let's be honest, Devontae's going to get schemed, but we can't just act like Devontae didn't just come off of a semi-down year. Like, you can't expect – like, Devontae's not getting younger. So go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Finish your point.
No, I'm just saying, like, Devontae isn't always going to be here. and we're preparing for life without him. And I don't view Brock as like, yeah, his receptions are going to be done, but I don't think like we're going to just stop seeing him not line up at H-back, not line up at the slot. Like the fact of the matter is like we do need a slot guy. Like Trey Tucker is a developmental piece, regardless of what people want to say about him. He's vertical. Is his route running perfect? No. Does he have sometimes concentration drops and hand issues? Yes. I would say Brock Bowers in the slot today right now is better than Trey Tucker. That might be a projection, but I would say that right now he's a better slot weapon than Trey Tucker is. So just based off of scheme. So I don't know, man. I hear where you're coming from, but at the same time, I don't ever view us adding more weapons to the offensive side of the ball. And I think we're talking about him a lot as if like this is what Brock is going to be, is like we're talking about him as if he's going to be some inline, and he's not going to be inline. So that's going to be Mayer's job, and Mayer's going to be doing a lot of that stuff. So I don't know, man. I view it as another explosive playmaker that can create yak.
Yeah, and before Severe chimes in, I just want to make it clear because I already know what people are thinking. What do you mean? What do you mean Michael Mayer ain't trash? He's a good player. I'm not saying Michael Mayer is trash. I'm not saying that he's not good. I'm just saying that he has a different skill set from what Brock Bowers brings to the table. And I think that like I just feel like Brock Bowers is a more explosive option. I feel like a more versatile option. But that being said, Michael Mayer, I still believe in his potential. I think he'll be probably a better, you can argue might be a better red zone option. You know, he's bigger. He high points the ball. He's probably going to be a better 50-50 ball catcher. I mean, I think we kind of seen that year one a little bit at times. I know he had a touchdown. I think we seen it live. I think the Jets game, right? We were there when AOC bought some time in the red zone and was able to get Michael Mayer in the corner end zone. So I'm not taking anything away from him. I just feel like Brock Bowers is a more explosive option and he's a little bit more versatile. But Severe, go ahead.
You know what I'm saying? So I kind of lost my train of thought. But we look at so first of all of these guys work in the same areas of the field, right? Like Brock Bowers is not some. So we talk about Trey Tucker. We all know how I feel about Trey Tucker. I'm not the biggest Trey Tucker fan either. But what Trey Tucker adds is an element of speed to the field that we need. We need a guy that's going to stretch the field. Brock Bowers is not really that guy. He's a guy that can in some situations, if he's schemed open, he can do some of that vertical stuff. But generally, as you guys said, he's more of a catch and run guy. And how effective would that catch and run stuff be when he's not going to be the guy that's being schemed into these easy situations? He's being schemed into these one-on-ones, right? And this team, since we don't have a quarterback that's going to really threaten them, we're going to see a lot more exotic coverages. We're going to see a lot more guys like not needing to spy a quarterback. So there's going to be more guys that are going to be, hey, you know what? I got my eyes on this guy. I got my eyes on this guy, because they don't have to worry about Aiden O'Connell if he's a starter. They don't have to worry as much about Gardner Minshew if he's a starter. You look at not last year, I think it was 2 years ago he was taken. Who the consensus best player in the draft was Kyle Pitts, right? He was the best player in the draft by most people's consensus. What is he? He's a guy he's a tight end. You can move all over the place. He's an athletic guy, stretch the field guy, also out of the SEC. People thought that Kyle Pitts was going to, take the league by storm, right? What has he done? Not done that, because he has ineffective quarterback play. Look at why Sam Laporta was effective, right? What do Detroit Lions have that we don't have? They have two things. They have a franchise quarterback, and they have one of the best offensive lines in the league that allows that quarterback enough time to do those things. They also don't have weapons they also don't have weapons who primarily work in that same area of the field. Jameson Williams is a down the field guy. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a guy that can work down the field as well. So they have guys who can work in those other parts of the field. We don't have that. We have guys who are mainly working in that same intermediate area. So it's going to be a lot of people in that basically that same area of the field. So and much like you said, I'm not saying that Brock Bowers is a bad player. I'm not saying that he won't be good for us. I'm just saying that that resource was better allocated somewhere else, especially when you factor in the fact that we had the ability to trade back to 15 and probably pick up another 4th or 5th, or trade back to 19 and likely pick up another 3rd. So would I rather have Quinion Mitchell there at 19 and then pick up a 3rd round receiver that can stretch the field, or do I want Brock Bowers? It's an easy answer for me. I'm taking two players, potentially 2 starters. So at that point, instead of having 2 starters on day 1 only, we are one on day 1 and one on day 2. We potentially have 4 starters at that point, right? So
Well,
I'm taking that all day.
That would be assuming that Tom Telesco would be drafting well with more picks, which, based off of how you feel about Tom Telesco, you probably wouldn't take the receiver that you wanted anyways, if we're being completely honest. And then the other point I wanted to allude to, because we're talking about Brock Bowers, and I think a lot of people forget that his sophomore year, when he ran his 40 in the spring, he ran a 4.48, which was 98th percentile. So a guy who's 240 pounds running a 4.48, his film is riddled with him blowing past corners, blowing past safeties because they mistime his speed. They don't think he's that fast. But athletically, like, you look at him and he looks a little goofy. But on the field, like, that's just a guy who has speed that they don't account for. Like, people kind of underestimate his speed. So I think that, especially with the 2 high safeties and playing deep like that, I think attacking the seams is something he did well. And I think that's something that he's going to carry over in day 1. He's going to be able to get vertical and attack these seams and really take advantage of his speed. Because a lot of people, he didn't run his 40, but they don't go back and realize, like, no, like, he ran a 4.48 in spring of his sophomore year. So the dude's fast. He's in the 98th percentile. So, like I said, you're still getting him.
Especially if the Raiders can establish a run game, and you go into the game with, 2 tight ends, and you're able to, like, play action and work off. Look, if he's going to be going against linebackers, if that's who's going to be guarding him, I think he can get open against a linebacker. You know what I mean? Like,
he should.
He should, right? He should.
Especially if it's Eichenberg,
but obviously, if we can't, obviously we can't run the ball, and a big key is, and that's another thing too that we haven't really talked about, and we'll probably talk about in a future show, is Zamir White. You know what I mean? He's going to have to really show out this season. He's going to have to be the guy that's going to have to lead that rushing attack, because if teams are going to have to respect that run game, that's where guys like Michael Mayer and Bowers are going to eat. And you can also include Devontae Adams. Obviously, it's going to be a lot of mouths to feed, but now you give a quarterback where a Minshew, where you're not too high on, or a guy like AOC you're not too high on. Now they got a whole bunch of weapons wide open. So the run game is going to be huge this season. But let's move it along, man. I know. Look, man. Hey, look. We kind of talked about it a little bit, but what's the biggest weakness, man? What's the biggest concern that you have with the Raiders team? Severe, you kind of talked about a couple of things that kind of has you concerned. So let's start with you. As far as what's your biggest concern with the Raiders team?
Yeah, my biggest concern, I think by far, it's kind of the elephant in the room, but I think it has to be Brock Bowers. No, I'm messaging now. I mean, my biggest concern is obviously quarterback, man. I'm okay with Minshew. I'm not really a fan of Aiden O'Connell. I'm hoping he takes this big, this big second year leap. But as a guy that's not that physically talented, I just kind of worry about how effective he will be. So maybe that was part of the calculation. Add a guy in like Brock Bowers, who can give you some easy throws, give you some catch and run stuff. Maybe that was part of the calculation where they're like, look, we're stuck with this dude. Let's give him this guy instead. Like I said, I preferred the route of going, hey, let's pound the rock. Let's play great defense instead. But, obviously they elected to go the opposite direction. So I'm really thinking that quarterback, that could end up being what really hurts us, because that's what did us in Minnesota and almost did us in Kansas City.
Right.
Yeah.
Biggest weakness.
I don't know, Severe. I think your biggest weakness might be when the Raiders trade for Justin Fields, because they don't have an answer. They don't have an answer at quarterback right now, and Luke Getsy wants to go get his guy. So
Oh man.
Nah, man. Obviously, it's to echo Severe's words, man. It's the quarterback position by far. I think you go as far as those guys, and right now, when you look at that room, it's towards the bottom of the league for sure. So that's not a lot to be optimistic about, but there's always next year. Yeah, but I'm kidding. But no, man, the quarterback spot for me. There's not a lot to say. We've kind of covered a lot of it. AOC Minshew, it's just kind of and then you've got a bunch of skill position players around them. You're going to run the ball and hope that we play tough defense and hope that we get turnovers and hope that they play like they did last year defensively. Because if they don't, then this season could get ugly pretty quick.
Right. So I know quarterback is probably the obvious answer, and you guys kind of went with it. So I'll just pivot and just talk about two positions that are a big concern. I thought Severe was going to bring it up. Corner is obviously a big concern, but also that run game. I just mentioned it right now. Like it's going to be a big key to the offense. If we don't have no run game, if we're not able to establish run game, that's where you put quarterbacks like AOC and Minshew at a huge disadvantage, because we don't really have a lot of confidence in them. So I think right now, that Zamir White needs to prove he has a lot to prove, to be honest with you. I mean, I know we've seen him for a couple of game stretch where he came in and played, but that's different from playing a 17-game season where teams are game planning. And on top of that too, and I know, Ray, you mentioned this, you kind of said that with the pieces that they have at offensive line, they're probably going to have a mix of power and zone. But James Craig, he's coming in to bring that zone scheme. And a guy like Zamir, do you see him fitting in a zone scheme? I'm not sure if he's that type of guy. Like, he's more of a, one cut gap type of running back.
But I kind of always hate that. Like, look, one thing that we learned about AP is when something's not working, he's not just going to stick to it and keep running himself into a wall. Like, if the wide zone is not working and that does not fit our players, like, yeah, that might start off running majority wide zone. But no, with the way that the line is built, you're not going to be able to do that consistently. Like, Thayer Mumford don't have the feet and athleticism to get out and move like that. Jackson Powers-Johnson does have that ability to do those things, but he's still a mauler. So the whole right side of that line is really built for duo, gap, power, and then from the center to the left side is more built for the zone run. So as I know everybody's talking about, oh, we're going to run wide zone. But I think, by mid-season, there's going to be a good balance because Zamir's strength, because Alexander Madison's strength, because of the offensive line strength. This isn't just going to be like, well, this is what I'm running. I think those days are, I should watch what I say, because with the Raiders, you get some coaches that just are stuck in their ways and they don't change. But
right,
for most part, I don't see AP just sticking with wide zone if wide zone don't work.
But doesn't that kind of make you predictable, though, a little bit? Like, when you have, all right, meaning that, all right, because it sounds like, all right, when we're running the ball, with on Thayer Mumford's side, with Jackson Powers-Johnson on that side, it sounds like you're kind of leaning towards, we need to be running gap scheme, power scheme.
No. Like, no, that's not. I'm not saying like, well, if they run it to the right, it's going to be duo and power. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying how it's built schematically. That's how it looks like it's built on paper. But I'm saying, like, there's going, regardless of their ability. So the zone players on the left side of our line, let's just use them for example. Yeah, they're going to run duo as well. Like, you're going to run duo to the left. Colton Miller can still run power. They did it last year. They ran a ton of power last year because that was the strength of Zamir White, and they were having success running the ball downhill that way. So what I'm just saying, I don't think it's going to make it predictable, but I'm just saying you're going to have to do whatever the strength is. And if duo is what is getting us first downs and moving the ball, then I guess we're going to be running a ton of duo. If it's wide zone, which I don't think it's going to be that way, but if it's wide zone, then yeah, you're going to see wide zone. So no, I think there's going to be a big blend of schemes that Lou Getsy's going to use up front.
Man, I hope so, man. I hope.
I guess that's me being optimistic. Like, that's what I'm hoping Lou Getsy does.
I hope Lou Getsy he comes, because he has a huge supporter in Devontae Adams, and I could just hearing Devontae Adams talk, you could tell, like, yeah, one of the biggest reasons why Lou Getsy was hired at OC was because Devontae Adams was like he was pounding table for him. So
You know how I feel, but we've had those talks before. I'm not always the biggest fan of players like this is my friend. It reminds me of Derek Carr and the offensive coordinator, and we know how that.
We was talking about that the other.
So,
me and Pharaoh was talking about that
yeah.
the other day. He didn't get the job because of that. Like, bro, he definitely got the job because of Derek Carr, bro. So.
Yeah, let's
But
not put friends.
I will say this about Samir. Samir, I mean, last year we did start. We were running some zone, especially later in the year. Bo Hardegree. And he was very effective in that zone stuff. And I think in the Kansas City game, he had a few. I'm gonna say like his two biggest runs were on zone runs. So he's a guy that when he had the chance, he averaged 6.5 yards per carry. Is that something he's going to duplicate? No, obviously not. That would be crazy. But he's a guy that in the game where our quarterback didn't complete passes for 3 quarters, everybody knew we were going to be running the ball. He was extremely effective at running the ball. So I think that and it wasn't like he was against some tomato can. He was against one of the best defensive lines in the league, and one of the best run defenses in the league as well. So I think he kind of showed and proved what he can do in that game in that particular situation. So I think you extrapolate that, put it over a 17-game season. Is some of his effectiveness going to go down? Yes, undoubtedly. But I think the fact that we now have a more effective second back to kind of spell him on more occasions, and possibly third back in Amir or Dylan, I think that's going to kind of lend him to being a little fresher still late in the year, and his effectiveness won't wane quite as much as some people may assume.
When you were a kid and like your dad grabs the back of your neck and just like leans in, he's like, "You better get it together." Like that's what AP is going to be doing to Luke Getsy. So he didn't get his quarterback. So he's gonna have Luke Getsy by the neck, and he's like, you better get this run game figured out.
I think in AP's eyes, like worst case scenario, we have a great run game. That's what AP's kind of betting on, because one of the things he mentioned was like, man, we played against them, and man, we had a hard time stopping their run game, and that's what Tyson beget at quarterback. So he kind of was impressed by that whole experience, coaching against that defense or that offense. But that being said, man, hey man, we appreciate everybody coming through. Stay tuned. We still got a whole show coming up. But yeah, man, hey man, great show with Raider Ray, man. Coming back from his hiatus, man.
Shout out to Ray, man.
Yeah, shout out to you, guys. Man.
It's always fun getting on here and talking.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And hopefully we'll have you back on soon. But yeah, we appreciate everybody coming through. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit that notification. Make sure to clock in, man. Clock in, hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification, all that good stuff. My guy Ray, if y'all don't know, now y'all need to know, head over to his channel. Do me a favor and subscribe to his YouTube channel, as well as follow him all over social media. As you see it on the screen, Real Raider Ray. Obviously, The Severe Raider. We're going to be going live on both our channels here. So make sure to subscribe to his channel and follow him all over social media, and obviously myself, you know what I mean? If y'all can't, just hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, all that good stuff. But man, great show, man. And stay tuned, y'all. We're not done yet. We're probably gonna hit up flag on the play, all that good stuff, you know what I mean? The normal stuff on the 50-50 show, man. But appreciate everybody coming through. Man, till next time. Peace. Was good, man. We back. Hey, great interview.
Welcome to the 50-50 show.
Hey, man, we're not done yet, man. We're not done yet. We still got to get into our usual stuff, man. We do it every Monday. And the big one that we got to talk about is flag on the play, man. Let me go ahead and do the usuals.
69 offense. He was giving them the business. We played it down.
Man, so hey, this week's flag on the play, we kind of touched on it a little bit, man, and it was a familiar face, man. Former Raider, Josh Jacobs, man. And what we're calling a flag on the play is his exchange with Raider fans, man. Like he's feeding into the beast that you call social media. Yeah. And let me go ahead and just put it on the screen for y'all to see, man. As you can see, Josh Jacobs says, let's see if I could rewind this back. You can see he says fake ass goodbye. Ain't no hate to the Raiders. They made a business decision, so did I. It's simple, move on. You know, Raider Nation was kind of, certain fans were kind of upset that it ended the way it did, and you know, Josh Jacobs even says y'all didn't even want me there. See, look, at the end of the day, man, just move on, man. This is like, he's like, he doesn't want to let it go. Like, I'm sure there's people like this, but like, you don't even gotta respond. Like, I'm not the one I'm not over here like leaving a comment or, you know, Josh Jacobs should have said goodbye. I understand it's a business. Players come and go. I mean, it is what it is for me, at least. I mean, if you've been following a team or the NFL or any sports, you know that players come and go. It is what it is. They sign to other teams. It doesn't mean that I hate them or dislike them or whatever, but there are certain people who will like let their opinions and how they feel about the team and players leaving known, and it's up to you to. It's on Josh, man. Like he wants to, like, you know, address it the way he wants to address it. But in my opinion, I think it's like a lose-lose. Like, what are you trying to prove? Like, why don't you address the people that actually supported you while you were with the Raiders? But you know, it is what it is, man. For me, it's a flag on a play, man. Like, let it go, Josh. Just let it go. I know there's people probably leaving comments, but just let it go. Just let it go, man. Because he's putting it on the timeline. Like, he's making comments. He could talk about like anything, but maybe he wants to come back. Maybe he's frustrated that he couldn't come back to the Raiders. Maybe he's having second thoughts being in Green Bay, cold ass Green Bay. Yeah. But what's your take on this, man? I already know you about to go in, but what do you think about what Josh has been doing on social media?
It's just real sensitive stuff, bro. Like, it's super soft, bro. Like, all these are people that obviously supported Josh Jacobs, right? Obviously wanted him to be here. You know, all they want is like, you know what, hey, you bounce up out of here. We still feel you're part of the history of this team. We appreciate what you did while you were here. All we want is for you to, you know, the guy with the Raider tattoo that was all about Raiders and all this stuff. Hey, you know, give the people that supported you, give them a goodbye. You know, thank the fans that supported you. And instead of doing that, all he does is cry about, oh, well, y'all didn't even want me here. Like, bro, that's some real, like, super soft stuff, bro. Like, and it's classless too. Like, it's not hard for you to just, like I said in our interview with Ray, bro. It takes 5 minutes. Send out a tweet. Hey, you know what? I spent thank you to the Raiders, the team that drafted me, gave me the opportunity of a lifetime. At one point I was homeless, and now, you know, hey, I'm able to provide a home for my father. That was a dream come true. You know, we had some ups and downs, but the fans, you know, that supported me through it all, you know, I thank you guys. You know, I'll see you guys, you know, next year. And bam, easy, right? Like, it's that simple, bro. So the fact that you won't do it, bro, that's just like some childish, petty. Like, I don't want to be a misogynist, but that's like some female type stuff, bro. In my opinion, that's like really some female type stuff. In my opinion.
Super emotional, man.
Facts.
And before we move on, man, hey, my guy D Menace, man, appreciate the super chat. My guy, he goes, Raiders. I got you, man. Appreciate, brother. Appreciate the super chat. My guy, D Menace, one of my mods here, man. Holding it down, man. Appreciate you coming through. But yeah, man, the chat is going crazy. But yeah, we talked a lot about the state of the Raiders, the state of the team, moving forward and stuff like that. So that's definitely our flag on the play. But let's actually move it along, and let's go to notable quotables. And notable quotables is where we pick out a quote, some audio of wherever, you know, an interview, can be a player. And I think this one is from the Devontae Adams and Max Crosby podcast. I don't know if you guys had a chance to check it out, but there was some interesting. I can't even say it, man.
Interesting things.
It's late, man. It's a late night show, man. But it was some good stuff that was said. And let me go ahead and play the audio. Actually, you know, if you want to give the people the intro.
Yeah, man. You know, we moved from one player that I couldn't wait to get rid of to a coach that, you know, most people couldn't wait to get rid of. You know, a lot of people trashed Josh McDaniels, deservedly so, for the coaching job that he did. But, you know, a lot of people didn't like how he related to players. But Devontae Adams gives us a little bit of insight into something that he did, for and with Devontae that Devontae had never experienced before. I thought it was interesting to hear.
You go ahead and play it.
And I'll tell you this, Josh McDaniels gets a lot of shit, but one of the things that he said to me that was like the realest, and I really never even had a coach stress it like the way that he did with me. He said, it was a couple things in practice or in games where it was a couple loafs or something, and he was like, I need you to go talk to these dudes because I can get in there and scream at them, but the more that they're worried about letting their brother down, that shit will mean way more than me getting on them or whatever. It's kind of like your literal brother or cousin talking to you growing up versus your dad saying, go clean your room. I guarantee you, my cousin never did this, but my cousin when they came in my room, be like, bro, what the fuck, clean your room. I'd have been like, oh shit, like,
My shit must be dirty.
yeah, my shit's already. This is not a good. And I'll tell you this. Josh McDaniels gets a lot of shit, but one of the things that he said to me that was like the realest, and I really never even had a coach stress it like the way that he did with me. He said, it was a couple things in practice or in games where it was a couple loafs or something, and he was like, I need you to go talk to these dudes because I can get in there and scream at them, but the more that they're worried about letting their brother down, that shit will mean way more than me getting on them or whatever. It's kind of like your literal brother or cousin talking to you growing up versus your dad saying, go clean your room. I guarantee you, my cousin never did this, but my cousin when they came in my room, be like, bro, what the fuck, clean your room. I'd have been like, oh shit, like,
My shit must be dirty.
yeah, my shit's already. This is not a good.
So what are your thoughts, man, on this notable quotable from the Devontae Adams? That's obviously Devontae Adams talking off of the Rush podcast. Shout out to them, man. Good podcast. Make sure to subscribe. What were your thoughts, man, on what was said?
I mean, I think that was interesting to hear. I know we heard a lot about how Josh McDaniels would basically just pound these dudes into the ground with their criticism and these long film sessions where he's critiquing guys and all of that stuff. So it looks like here, he was trying to leverage the leaders on his team to do that. And why that was significant to me is that while I think he did a bad job of coaching, I think though, like him empowering guys like Devontae, empowering guys like Max Crosby to be the leaders of their units and the leaders of their prospective sides of the field, one guy on offense, one guy on defense. I think that laid a good foundation for us going forward. Turning those guys. Devontae said he was never really that much of a vocal guy before, until Josh kind of put that in his ear. And now we hear about what he's doing with guys like Trey Tucker and kind of pulling them along. And also in the interview, he talked about, hey, you know what, days when he's not at practice, he hears from coaches, or he particularly said EB, which is Edgar Bennett, like guys aren't as on point or aren't as sharp. So just him planting those seeds and helping Devontae be more of a vocal leader, and doing the same thing with Max Crosby. I think that's going to pay dividends for this team going forward.
It's kind of interesting hearing Devontae Adams say some good things about Josh McDaniels, especially for how much stuff that we heard from the locker room and how he lost the team. And he wasn't getting it done as a head coach for the Raiders, and probably will never get an opportunity to be a head coach. Like, this is, the NFL, that's how they move, man. Like, even when Telesco got hired, like they were talking about, like, you don't ever really see GMs that get fired and get rehired.
We see why.
You just don't see it. You don't see it too often. Maybe when guys step away and they retire or whatever, or they try to come back, maybe that might be a whole different thing. But as far as guys getting fired and getting another opportunity, I mean, look at McKenzie. Like McKenzie, for example, like I'm mentioning him because everybody knows him as a GM for the Raiders. He's been with, I think, the Miami Dolphins as a player personnel guy, but it's not like he's getting another job. You just don't see it too often. And McDaniels was able to get a second opportunity as a head coach. I know it's two different positions, but it just tells you, like, once the NFL has a view or opinion on you, it's kind of hard to, like, it's hard to get that off you. And it's interesting hearing Devontae Adams kind of talk about him, and they didn't really have an issue with Josh McDaniels. Even Max Crosby. Even Max Crosby had some good things. Like, he says he's forever thankful. But I think you got to look at it from this perspective. That regime got him paid. Yeah. So when Max Crosby says he's forever thankful with Josh McDaniels, I'm sure there's a relationship there. There's a mutual respect, and he obviously became a leader under that team with that regime. But also he got paid. He got that extension with when McDaniels and Ziegler were there. Same thing with Devontae Adams. Like, There's a certain level of respect that he got from that regime, as well as getting paid. Like Devontae Adams was, at the time, was probably like the highest paid receiver.
Yeah,
I mean, that's since been
for a short period of time. I think
for a short period of time. You know how it is. NFL's like one guy gets the highest paid contract, and 2 weeks later, another guy gets a huge extension, and it is what it is. But like, yeah, man, I take it with a grain of salt. But and I don't know, you made this point before, or I forgot who I was talking to that made this point. They were like, you know what? Today's NFL, like the players, they're a different breed. Like, maybe players like Max Crosby that play the game at a high level, they can take that type of coaching, but I'm not sure if
they want that type of coaching, right? It's ironic that guys that love the grind, guys like Max Crosby, guys like Devontae, guys that really are in it, like to work. They're like diligent workers. Like they didn't mind, because like a lot of the stuff people complain about was, hey, he's overcritical of me. We have long film sessions. Like those are like the main things. Like, oh, every time we mess up in practice, he stops us and corrects us. Like stuff like that. Like, so I can see how that can feel like micromanaging, but guys that are yearning to get better or looking for every single advantage on the football field, they don't mind that stuff as much. But like those other guys who want to do good, but they don't want to be coached like that stuff bothers them. That stuff irks them. But you see like Max Crosby and Devontae, they both had great things to say about him. So, but obviously, even though those two guys, and ideally, that's what you want, right? You don't want to be the guy. You don't want to chase around 53 people. You want your team leaders. You want to put that responsibility on your team leaders to kind of handle that stuff. Like that's what you want. Like you no, like I shouldn't have to. Like it's like working at a job, right? Like if you generally, there's like a general manager, then there are supervisors and stuff like that, right? Like your general manager isn't coming down telling like the cashier or like the janitor, hey, what's going on with these floors? Like, how come we ain't got no grapes in the front? Like, no, they're not doing that. There's a department lead for that. And ideally, that's kind of how it should work, right? I shouldn't have to tell all these people individually what they should do. I should be able to lean on my leaders to do that. And, and that's what he did with those guys. And I think that's going to pay dividends.
Yeah, Daniel. Hey, McDaniels will never get another head coaching job. Too much baggage and competition. No, facts, 100%. Like,
that's correct.
No. And I'm not going to lie. Even as an offensive coordinator, he might get another shot for sure, because that's where he kind of made his – but all his success came under Bill Belichick.
He's damn as good, bro.
Yeah, and on top of that, like even people forget that like after Denver, his next immediate job wasn't the Patriots. He went to the Rams.
Yeah.
And they were one of the worst offenses in the NFL. So, and you could say that Rams team was, they're rebuilding and Sam Bradford at quarterback, but like, hey man, if you're a talented OC, you're a talented OC. Like there's gonna be some type of like, like it is what it is. But he had Tom Brady at quarterback, he had Gronk at tight end, Aaron Hernandez, Randy Moss, the Julian Edelmans, and he was able to be an OC with the under Bill Belichick, which is, he had that whole building in check as far as running the team. So it's like a whole different dynamic. So Scott, like, do you take a risk on McDaniels as OC? And that's a whole different conversation for another day. I don't care. He's getting paid right now, and he's not even. He's gonna be on. He could take a 4 or 5 year vacation and get paid millions and millions of dollars. That's he's good, man.
Yeah.
So it is what
he'll have to go
man.
to college route, man. He got to go to college route.
Yeah. No doubt. But let's move it along, man. Hey, look, what one of our favorite segments, man. What's real and what's not, and usually we have more stuff today, but like, hey, we had so much to talk about. But what's real, what's not? Go ahead and let the people know what's real, what's not statement today.
So what's real, what's not? I kind of alluded to it in our conversation with Ray. In order for me to think that to judge the Brock Bowers pick as a successful pick this first year, not down the line, but this first year, I think, he has to meet a certain benchmark. So I'm saying Brock Bowers will not get 700 yards receiving yards this season. Is that real or not?
I'm going to say, so you're saying that Brock Bowers is not going to get 700 yards, or he is?
It will not happen.
Man, Oh man, Devontae, Jacoby Myers. You
Dave
know what?
McConnell,
I'm gonna say you know what? Like I said, it grew on me that I'm now a fan of that pick as far as like what he can bring to this team. I'm gonna say yes. I think that's real. I think he can get 700 yards. Now I'm catches maybe like around 40, 50. I'm projecting, and that's pretty high for a rookie tight end to come in. Usually rookie tight ends like Sam Laporta, like he was balling for the Lions.
Yeah.
And the thing with the Lions, they have a really good OC. Now we got Getsy. Now Getsy, he's kind of like that guy. Like you don't know what to expect. Like what is he going to devise with the weapons that we have? Like what type of offense are we going to see? Now, hey, he was pretty productive as an OC for the Bears as far as getting the tight end that they had involved. So there's that. He did have a run game, so maybe he's able to like find a creative way to use both Mayer and that's the thing, 700 yards with all those weapons.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm a swing big, man. I think Bowers, man, at pick 13, big time playmaker, explosive playmaker. There's a lot of different ways you can get him involved. I'm gonna say yes, that it's real. That's really gonna happen. I feel like he's gonna be able to get at least 700 yards, total yards, right? Total offense. Are we saying total offense?
No, I gotta be receiving you. I ain't worried about it. I didn't like catching no jet sweep where like I'm talking about receiving yards.
Hey man,
bro.
that's his game though. That's part of his game because he's able to create a lot of yak. You know what I mean? So
I don't see us doing that often. That may be like a once once every 6 game type thing.
More like screens. More like screens.
I think he will be effective in the screen game. I think they will, in some situations probably put him in the backfield, have him run a real route or something like that, just to confuse defenses. I don't think he gets 700 yards, and it's not because of Brock Bowers himself, but it's kind of as you alluded to. I think there's too many hands in the cookie jar. Yeah. And also another factor is like I really don't have a lot of faith in our quarterbacks. You look at what Sam Laporta did last year; that was an outlier. And I think Jared Goff is people want to hate on Jared Goff. Jared Goff is the top 10 quarterback in this league. I think he proved that last year and a year before that. And I just think that the way we'll play as a team, I don't think we'll be forced to throw the ball a lot. I think we're going to play good defense. I think we're going to try to keep the score low, and we're going to pound the rock. So there won't be quite as many passes going into the air as maybe some other teams. I think if this was a situation where we're going to be like playing from behind a lot, maybe it could be a situation where he can reach that benchmark because he has the talent to do it. This is not an indictment on Brock Bowers as a talent. I think he has the talent to do it. I just think that there's so many other people that just going to need and want the ball, and then I don't think we have really good quarterbacks that'll do it, and I don't think we'll be in positions to really throw the ball that often.
Right. Yeah, it's that those are the two biggest things is the so many options on offense and then the quarterback play. And a third one too is I mentioned a little bit is the OC Luke Getsy. I don't know what kind of offense is he going to develop? Like is it because to get a guy like especially tight ends to be productive? To be honest with you, you got to be creative. You got to find a creative way to get them involved. Like the Andy Reeds and all like even John Gruden to a certain extent. Like one thing you can say about John Gruden, he knew how to get the ball to the playmakers.
Yeah.
Like, that's the one thing. You could get on him as a play caller, but as far as designing plays and, like, bro, Darren Waller got his numbers. Jared Cook got his numbers. You know what I mean? Like, Amari Cooper, I mean, he wasn't there for that long, but, he got his numbers. Even Henry Ruggs, like, he was able to find a way to get him the ball. Like, good OCs, they find a way to, like, get the playmakers the ball, and hopefully Getsy can do that. But it's hard to say, man. It's a lot of projection with him. So that's one of those one of the big question marks going into next season is what does the Raiders offense look like under Getsy, especially with the QBs that we have, but we have a whole lot of weapons. So we'll see, man. But we didn't really get a chance to touch on this too as well. Raiders made some moves today.
Yeah.
Raiders made some moves today, man. They were able to, as after the draft, Raiders had some cap space. They wanted to shore up some positions, and I think they'd made I don't know if it's going to be the right move, but it made sense. Like they added some speed to that receiver room because you got all these guys, man. Where's the speed? You got all these tight ends and Devontae Adams. Obviously, at this point in his career, I mean, you shouldn't be looking at him as a deep threat. You got obviously Myers. He's a possession guy. Trey Tucker's probably the only guy in the room that had some speed, and then they did add old boy from the Cowboys last week,
Michael
Gallup. But after the ACL, does he have that same juice? You know what I mean? Is he still the same player? Can he, can he really get downfield and maybe force that safety on the other side to pay attention to him? Who knows? But they added another speed guy in Jalen Guyton, former Charger. So you see the connection between him and the GM Telesco. And offensive tackle, Andres Pete, man. What do you think of the moves? Former Pro Bowler, by the way. And if you guys been paying attention last week, we had a list of free agents, and Andres Pete was on there, offensive lineman. But what do you think of the signings so far?
I like the Gallup signing. I think it's a high upside signing. Guyton, there's a very good chance he doesn't make the team. If so, he'll probably be like a fifth receiver, special teams kind of guy. Andres Pete is interesting. He's the guy that was a former first-round pick. I think it was 13th overall out of Stanford. But he's a guy that's oft injured. Even though he's put together some good seasons, he just can never stay healthy. And to address what all eyes on G is saying, people are saying Michael Mayer is a Hall of Famer. So if he's a Hall of Famer, that's what the people are. And this, you can look in the chat. People are saying he's a Hall of Famer. So if he's a Hall of Famer, bro, you better get 700 yards. Remember he's a guy that's supposed to change our offense. Go out there and get your 700.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. All I said, there's only been 4 tight ends to hit over 7 yards. I mean, I told you I was trying to be positive. But if Brock Bowers is that dude, man, Getsy, let's say, finds a creative way to get the tight ends involved, and we're talking about a Brock Bowers that is explosive, that can break a lot of tackles. It's definitely I'm definitely being a little positive, you know what I mean? But I understand that, there hasn't been a lot of production from tight ends, especially as rookies, but especially in the situation that the Raiders are in. But yeah, man. Hey, man, the chat's going crazy. Oh yeah, man. Hey, I know we're doing this late night show, so we're getting a whole lot of people that's probably not familiar with the channel, man. Hey, keep it respectful, man. Keep it respectful. I seen some earlier. Some people kind of talking to some of the people that, obviously watch the show and they're big supporters of this channel. Daniel, I appreciate you. Someone's coming at you. Hey, man, Daniel, don't be afraid to block some of these people. I have no problem. I don't usually at the end of the day, a difference in opinion doesn't get you blocked. But what does get you blocked, if you get a little disrespectful, you start saying some crazy stuff. I don't have to go into the details. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. But we like to keep it respectful on this channel. But if you guys continue to say some stuff in the chat that's disrespectful, y'all got to go. I have no problem blocking you. It's easy for me. I kind of enjoy it low key. I'll block you easy. But if obviously you have a difference in opinion, that will not get you blocked. I'm not that type of person. So I like that dialogue, man. I like that conversation. I'm here to talk to the nation. People are fans of the football, the Raiders, and so we can have this conversation. And hey, man, and we can grow. So hey, man, it's been a great show. I appreciate everybody coming through. Man, any thoughts, man, as far as what you want to say to Raider Nation, what to look forward to, where they can find you? Let them know.
You guys already know, man. The Severe Raider. I'm everybody's favorite on here. Apparently, I see from the comment section, man. I live rent free in everybody's head, so I appreciate that. But yeah, you can find me Severe Raider. You know what it is. Severe Raider on IG, Severe Raider on X, Severe Raider on TikTok. And yeah, man, I'm just looking forward to the next phase of free agency, man. Tom Telesco's already started off a little bit faster than I expected. I thought he might wait till June 1st to really get active, but he started a little bit early, and then I think we're gonna have another frenzy coming after that day, man. So look forward to seeing what we do.
Hey Ray, Ray Love, man. I'm gonna give you a wrench, man. Hey, appreciate the support. I'm gonna give you a wrench, so then you could any stuff that you see in the chat, and hopefully I don't know if you follow us on social media. I'll be able to hit you up on the back end and let you know all the details what comes with being a mod. But I'm gonna give you a mention, man. I appreciate you holding it down in the chat.
For sure.
And Frank, man, he says ciao from beautiful Sicily, man. Hey, my guy Frank, man, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you coming through all the way from Italy, man. That's crazy. Hey, Raider Nation is worldwide, my guy, man. Appreciate you coming through. But yeah, man. Hey, we've had a great show. We appreciate everybody coming through. We do this every Monday. I'm gonna say Monday nights, man. I don't want to give you all the time because until we get that down, I ain't trying to. Oh, Jay, shout out from Hayward, man. Appreciate you, man. Hey, man, appreciate you coming through, Jay, from the Bay, man. Hey, look, but yeah, man, we appreciate everybody coming through. We're here every Monday night, so make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, hit that like button. The next time you'll see us, we'll have an episode with Big Mike this Thursday. So be on a lookout. Be on the lookout for that. Or you know what is we're gonna have something. We're gonna have something.
We have something.
Yeah. We're gonna have something. So be on the lookout later this week. But like I said, I appreciate everybody coming through. It's been a great show. Man, till next time. I know Severe, this is your time to get your last word in.
Nah, I got nothing today, man. Nothing today.
All right, man. All right, y'all. Peace.
Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.